The natural maps we have admired may be hiding a magnificent secret. Because when we look at what this planet has shaped with its own hands over millions of years, the most fascinating question is not how long it took, but what kind of magic nature truly used. Snow-covered mountain ranges with astonishingly sheer cliffs. Geological layers stacked with such precision that they seem to leave almost no gaps. To basalt caves arranged in mesmerizing hexagonal patterns. Everything appears to have been designed by an all-powerful architect with calculations far beyond the reach of human vision. Yet none of these formations were created by machines or guided by any human blueprint. This very absence has raised questions that geologists still cannot fully answer, while challenging the limits of our imagination. Join us as we explore some of the strangest natural wonders on Earth, mysterious formations that continue to keep scientists searching for answers. Rising up from the Dolomites of Italy, the Tre Cime di Lavaredo stand like the stone towers of an ancient fortress. Carved from pale, bright rock, these three giant peaks cut a jagged shape against the soft green meadows below. The north face of these towers drops straight down more than 1,600 feet, carving out a deep and dramatic gorge. This wall is so steep and bare of any handhold that only the best climbers in the world dare to attempt it. More than a century ago, World War I soldiers carved tunnels straight into this same rock, turning these mountains into a battlefield. Today, long after the fighting has ended, these peaks still glow a brilliant gold, every evening standing watch over the sky as they always have. Preikestolen in Norway extends into the open air with an almost perfectly square surface, looking like a giant stage built by humans, even though it is entirely a work of nature. About 10,000 years ago, water entered cracks in the rock, froze and expanded, causing the surrounding stone to separate and leaving behind a granite surface about 82 by 82 feet wide. From that edge, the granite cliff drops almost straight down at 90 degrees for nearly 1,982 feet to the water below. Deep beneath the cliff, ancient glaciers carved the waterway to more than 1,300 feet deep, creating a huge channel between the mountain slopes. The blue water winds between the steep cliffs below, making the grey granite stand out even more across the landscape. Fog can suddenly rise from the waterway and sometimes hide the cliff edge completely, even when a person is standing only about 16 feet away. In Western Ireland, one mountain refuses to look like any other. Its summit is sliced flat, as if cut by a single blade. This is Ben Bulben, shaped over thousands of years by Ice Age glaciers, grinding across solid limestone. Nothing else in Ireland looks quite like it. Standing more than 1,600 feet tall, it dominates the horizon for miles. Hidden on its slopes lies a cave from old Irish legend, where two lovers once hid from a jealous warrior. But its most famous visitor came centuries later. Poet William Butler Yeats chose to rest forever at its foot. Today, Ben Bulben still stands watch over Sligo, a flat stone sentinel between green fields and the wide Atlantic. A river turns nearly 270 degrees around a massive block of red sandstone, creating Horseshoe Bend, like a giant horseshoe carved into the desert. This curve formed over 5 to 6 million years as the river continuously wore away the sandstone and slowly cut deeper into the rock below. At the same time, tectonic forces slowly lifted the plateau while the river kept its winding path and cut deeper into the landscape. The red and orange cliffs around the bend were once sand dunes in an ancient desert compressed into sandstone about 200 million years ago. The sandstone edge drops almost straight down for nearly 984 feet to the blue water below, creating a sharp line between the river and the red cliffs. Across the nearly flat desert surface, the entire canyon can remain almost hidden until the final steps, when Horseshoe Bend suddenly opens into view ahead. This strange landscape in Serbia looks like a frozen crowd of stone figures scattered across a steep hillside. Locals call it Devil's Town or Javolja Varos, where more than 200 slender stone towers each wear a heavy stone cap. These towers rise nearly 50 feet tall, carved over centuries as wind and rain slowly wore away the soft volcanic soil beneath them. Nearby, one spring holds water with extremely high acid content, while another turns red from its high iron content, adding even more mystery to the landscape. Local legend says these figures are wedding guests turned to stone after the devil tricked a bride and groom into marrying even though they were brother and sister. As wind and rain continue to wear away this land, these strange stone-capped figures will slowly change and disappear, making Devil's Town a wonder still being shaped today. From high above, Kareed in Iceland looks like a giant eye with red edges and a turquoise pupil facing the sky. Unlike many volcanic craters formed by explosions, this structure appeared when magma drained from the chamber below, causing the summit to collapse inward. The natural crater is about 180 feet deep, more than 550 feet wide, and nearly 890 feet long, making people inside look very small. The red color of the walls formed when iron in the volcanic rock oxidized and stained the surface. Beneath those red walls, the bottom of the crater connects with groundwater, helping the lake level remain relatively stable as rainfall changes. Dissolved minerals give the lake its cloudy turquoise color, making it look even more like a giant pupil when seen from above. In the middle of a vast white desert in Argentina, a dark cone rises up so perfectly shaped that it looks man-made. This striking geological formation, known as Cono de Arita, rises more than 400 feet above the barren landscape around it. For years, its almost perfect shape left scientists puzzled until they realized it was a volcano that had never truly erupted. Surrounding the cone lies a vast sea of salt, more than 11,000 feet above sea level, where the harsh climate leaves almost no plant life behind. Archaeological traces found nearby suggest this place may once have served as a ceremonial center before the time of the Inca. Today, this lonely monument casts a long shadow across the blinding white ground, standing like a quiet and beautiful mystery. As Bora Bora continues to sink into the ocean, it moves closer to its final form, a ring of coral surrounding the place where the volcano once stood. Today, the exposed land covers only about 12 square miles, while the surrounding lagoon spreads across more than 31 square miles, making the island core look small within the water. The outer coral reef weakens waves that can reach 10 to 16 feet high, allowing the water inside to remain much calmer than the open ocean beyond. In many places, only 3 to 7 feet deep, the white sandy bottom reflects sunlight and creates the lagoon's turquoise color, while parrotfish continue adding fine sand made from coral. Rising from the middle of the lagoon, the volcanic basalt core still reaches more than 2,290 feet high, creating a clear contrast between steep rock and calm water. From high above, the coral ring separates the bright lagoon from the deep blue ocean, while also tracing the shape that may remain after the volcanic core continues to disappear. Along Iceland's dramatic southern coast, the famous Skogafoss sends a huge wall of water pouring down from towering emerald cliffs. The falls drop about 197 feet across a cliff nearly 82 feet wide, sending thick mist through the valley. When sunlight reaches that mist, bright rainbows often appear in front of Skogafoss, sometimes two at once. Icelandic legend says a Viking named Thrassi hid a chest of gold behind the waterfall more than 1,000 years ago. Treasure hunters later found the chest, but took only its ring before it slipped away, leaving the gold hidden behind the falling water. Even today, the mist rises beneath Skogafoss, keeping the old legend of hidden gold alive in the spray. Arenal rises with an upper slope of nearly 45 degrees, giving it the shape of an almost perfect natural pyramid, even though it is only about 7,000 to 7,500 years old. Rising about 5,479 feet, the volcano built itself through repeated eruptions as ash pumice and hardened lava piled up layer by layer. Beneath the surface, heat from magma warms underground water to about 176 to 212 degrees Fahrenheit, creating hot water flows around the base of the mountain. Above ground, trade winds often carry ash toward one side, creating a clear contrast between rocky volcanic slopes and thick areas of green forest. On the bare rocky slope, lava from the 1968 eruption still lies frozen into long, dark flows that look like rivers that have stopped moving. Yet clouds often cover the summit, causing Arenal's almost perfect cone to disappear from view for long periods. Rising from the blue waters of Sicily, a brilliant white cliff stretches along the coast, taking the majestic shape of a giant staircase. This geological masterpiece, known as the Scala dei Turchi, was carved over millennia by fierce winds and crashing waves eroding the soft marlstone. Towering roughly 164 feet above the sea, the blindingly bright rock creates a breathtaking illusion of a snow mountain surviving in the scorching Italian summer. Because this exact soft structure makes the cliff incredibly fragile under millions of footsteps, strict conservation barriers now protect the wonder from crumbling away. This delicate beauty once hid a violent past. As legends say, these convenient natural steps allowed notorious Moorish pirates to secretly climb ashore and terrorize nearby villages. Today, leaving behind its dark history, this natural monument proudly displays a flawless, timeless contrast between pure white stone and deep ocean blue. Beneath its almost perfect cone, Mount Fuji is actually formed from 3 volcanic structures layered on top of one another during different geological periods. Basalt lava once flowed around the mountain and hardened gradually, creating slopes of about 30 to 35 degrees that are nearly even in every direction. This balanced shape becomes even more striking at special times of the year when the sun appears directly above the summit and shines like a diamond in the sky. But at an elevation of 12,388 feet, those smooth lines end at a barren volcanic crater about 820 feet deep. That peaceful appearance was broken in 1707 when a major eruption sent a huge amount of ash into the sky and covered areas more than 62 miles away. Today, Mount Fuji is still classified as an active volcano with a geological system that has not completely stopped beneath a mountain that seems perfectly still. Kalinking Beach looks like a giant T-Rex stretching its head toward the ocean, but it is actually formed from a massive limestone formation that came from ancient coral. Over millions of years, tectonic movement lifted this rock above the sea, while waves slowly wore away both sides, creating its narrow neck and long head. From the cliff edge, the rock drops almost straight down about 656 feet to the white sand and blue water below. In the clear water, manta rays with wingspans of about 16 to 23 feet sometimes appear as large, dark shapes gliding slowly beneath the surface. Around the water, where the manta rays swim, white sand, deep blue ocean, and green vegetation covering the limestone create 3 clear layers of contrasting color. At the base of the cliff, waves continue to wear away the limestone, causing the famous T-Rex shape to change slowly over time. Whitehaven Beach shines like a white ribbon between the forest and the ocean, with sand made of up to 98% pure silica, even though the rocks on the island produce almost none of this material. This unusual silica is believed to have been carried here from somewhere else by ocean currents slowly building the remarkable shoreline seen today. The silica grains reflect sunlight strongly, so even when summer temperatures reach about 104 degrees Fahrenheit, the surface of the sand still feels relatively cool underfoot. In the shallow water, the sand settles quickly after being disturbed, keeping the sea so clear that fish and stingrays can look as if they are floating above the bottom. The tides constantly pull white sand and turquoise water into winding bands, creating marble-like patterns that are always changing. Stretching for more than 4 miles, this shoreline forms a clear, natural boundary between the green vegetation inland and the wide-open ocean beyond. From high above, a giant waterfall seems to be pouring into a deep abyss in the ocean near Mauritius, but in reality, not a single drop of water is actually falling. What creates this waterfall is actually sand and mud being swept away from the shallow water by ocean currents and pulled toward the deeper sea. Right at the edge of the waterfall, the sea floor suddenly drops from shallow water into depths of nearly 13,000 feet, making the entire sandy shelf look as if it is sliding away into the ocean. The crystal-clear water allows sunlight to reach deep below, making bright streams of sand stand out between the turquoise shallows and the dark blue ocean beyond. At sea level, the illusion almost disappears, so the waterfall shape becomes clearly visible only when viewed from hundreds of feet above. Ocean currents constantly change and pull the sand into long streams or swirling shapes, causing the underwater waterfall to keep changing its form. Fingal's Cave looks like a Gothic cathedral with rows of straight stone columns, yet it existed tens of millions of years before humans ever knew architecture. The structure is the remains of a volcanic eruption about 60 million years ago when hot lava cooled and slowly contracted. That contraction created cracks at angles near 120 degrees, dividing the basalt into thousands of six-sided columns packed together like a stone honeycomb. Thanks to the high roof and stone columns, every wave that enters and retreats echoes through the cave, turning it into a natural concert hall beside the sea. This echoing space extends about 226 feet into the rock, while the cave roof rises nearly 72 feet above the water. For millions of years, the ocean has continued striking these basalt columns, slowly widening the cave while keeping Fingal's Cave from ever becoming truly silent. Once the boat moves about 656 feet beyond the bright cave entrance, near total darkness covers everything, making it difficult to see even your own hand. This is the Puerto Princesa underground river, winding nearly 5 miles through limestone mountains before flowing directly into the sea. Although boats can travel only about 3 miles because of low oxygen and difficult terrain, the water deep inside the cave still rises and falls with the ocean tides. Over millions of years, water dissolved the limestone and created enormous chambers nearly 1,181 feet long, with a volume of about 88 million cubic feet. In the darkness, thousands of bats and swiftlets cling to the ceiling, while shrimp, fish, and insects below survive within a food chain, supported by organic material falling into the cave. Under artificial light, the cave walls reveal bands of orange, red, and white minerals, turning the mountain interior into a world completely different from the forest outside. From above, more than 3,400 pools at Huanglong stack together to form the shape of a giant golden dragon winding down the mountain. That dragon is actually made of calcium deposits formed as water flows down from snowy mountains more than 16,400 feet high and leaves behind limestone barriers. These stone barriers grow by only about 0.04 to 0.08 of an inch each year, meaning the landscape took tens of thousands of years to form. Across these limestone terraces, the water is almost clear, while the turquoise and golden colors come from reflected light and minerals on the bottom. Snow-covered peaks surround the colorful pools, creating a rare contrast between the bright water in the valley and the white ice above. In winter, ice covers the pools and flowing water, making the golden dragon almost disappear until the water begins to flow again. Most beaches stay in the same place year after year, but this one in Croatia actually points in a different direction depending on the day. This is Zlatni Rat, a long spit of fine white pebbles that stretches from the island of Brac out into the Adriatic Sea. Wind and ocean currents constantly reshape its tip, and during a strong storm, the very end of the beach can swing from one side to the other in just a few hours. Those same steady winds have turned this beach into one of the best windsurfing spots in all of Europe. Hidden in the pine forest right behind the sand lie the ruins of an ancient Roman villa, quietly overlooked by most visitors. Even a drone photo taken today will look slightly different tomorrow, since this beach never stops slowly changing its shape. The more the water flows at Kwangsi Falls, the more it builds new turquoise pools, slowly changing the forest landscape over time. Underground water carries calcium carbonate, creating countless tiny mineral particles that make the blue color appear more clearly throughout the pools. Unlike many waterfalls that only wear rock away, the water here also deposits calcium carbonate into new layers of limestone, slowly raising the pool edges and forming curved terraces that look carefully carved. At the top of the falls, the landscape suddenly becomes calm, with shallow streams flowing across grassy ground before reaching the edge. From there, the water drops about 197 feet, striking the rocks below and creating a fine layer of mist around the base of the falls. Farther down, the blue water continues to spill across each limestone edge, connecting the pools into a series of natural terraces that are still being slowly built by minerals in the water. High in the rugged Tian Shan Mountains of Kazakhstan, a mesmerizing turquoise lake hides a strange and haunting secret. That secret began the moment a powerful earthquake struck in 1911 when a landslide dammed the valley and flooded the forest below. From that icy crystal-clear water, dozens of pale spruce trunks now rise in silence, piercing the surface like the broken masts of sunken ghost ships. That same freezing water has preserved these drowned trees in near-perfect condition, rarely warming above 43 degrees Fahrenheit, even in summer. Daring divers now plunge into these icy depths, drawn to glide between the strange, frozen branches of a forest lost beneath the surface. This flooded valley remains one of the most eerie and unique landscapes on Earth, a lasting reminder of how unpredictable nature can be. A handful of sand at White Sands can slowly dissolve in fresh water because this white landscape is made of gypsum rather than ordinary sand. Its story began about 250 million years ago when this land was still beneath an ancient sea, leaving enough gypsum to create a white dune field covering about 275 square miles, the largest in the world. The bright gypsum grains reflect sunlight strongly, so even when summer air reaches 104 degrees Fahrenheit, the sand can still feel relatively cool under your feet. But this white sea of sand never truly stands still because wind keeps pushing the dunes northeast by as much as 30 feet each year. On this constantly shifting ground, some plants keep growing upward with the sand, leaving behind hardened pillars of roots and sand reaching about 10 to 13 feet high after the dunes move away. At sunset, White Sands changes from white to shades of pink-purple and orange, while the dunes below continue their slow and silent movement. What gives pink sands its color is not minerals, but countless tiny red shell fragments from marine organisms crushed by waves and mixed into the white sand. Over time, waves continue to grind these shells and coral into extremely fine grains, creating a pink beach about 3 miles long, but less than 100 feet wide. Unlike many quartz beaches, this biological sand reflects sunlight strongly, so it stays relatively cool underfoot even when the air reaches about 104 degrees Fahrenheit. Right beside the cool sand, the offshore water can be clear enough for visibility to reach nearly 197 feet, making boat shadows appear below, as if the boats were floating in the air. From a distance, the landscape separates into three clear, natural colors: green vegetation, soft pink sand, and turquoise sea. Late in the day, low-angle sunlight shines across the calcium shell fragments, making pink sands shift from pale pink to a deeper strawberry shade as the sun approaches the horizon. Deep in the remote rainforest of Guyana, the Potaro River suddenly reaches a steep sandstone cliff and drops over the edge. This is Kayatua Falls, where the river plunges about 740 feet in one powerful drop, making it one of the great single-drop waterfalls on Earth. At peak flow, about 23,000 cubic feet of water can pour over the cliff every second, filling the gorge with a deep and powerful roar. Because the surrounding terrain is so rugged and difficult to cross, Kayatua is mainly reached by small aircraft, helping this remote wonder remain remarkably wild and untouched. Lake Superior. A single drop of water can stay here for nearly 191 years because this giant lake holds about 2,735 cubic miles of fresh water and works like an inland ocean. Although its surface sits about 600 feet above sea level, its deepest point reaches 1,332 feet, forming a cold freshwater abyss below sea level. This water body holds about 10% of the world's unfrozen surface fresh water, enough to cover all of North and South America under about 1 foot of water. More than 6,000 years ago, people mined pure copper along its shores, creating a trade network that stretched across the continent. When freezing air moves over warmer lake water, thick milky fog can rise and swallow the landscape in a silent white curtain. Because the water has few nutrients and very little algae, some areas are clear enough to see 100 feet down, making boats seem to float above deep blue empty space. Florida Keys. Stretching across the ocean like a fragile thread, this island chain is protected by a living coral reef more than 168 miles long, one of the largest reef systems in the world. This giant biological wall absorbs much of the power from offshore waves, helping the low islands behind it survive in the open sea. Even though the chain extends for hundreds of miles, its highest natural point is only about 18 feet above sea level, making it highly vulnerable to rising oceans. Mangrove forests cling to the coral foundation, with special roots that filter salt and trap sediment, slowly building new land over time. Along the only highway connecting the islands, the view creates a sharp contrast between deep, dark blue water on one side and clear turquoise shallows on the other. This blend of coral reefs, mangrove forests, and the surrounding ocean makes this place one of the most unique coastal ecosystems in the United States. Mendenhall Glacier. From a distance, this wonder looks like a giant crystal ribbon crossing the cold mountains, yet each year it quietly retreats about 130 to 160 feet. Its brilliant blue color does not come from the sky, but from immense pressure that removes air bubbles in the ice and reflects mostly blue light. In its deepest sections, the ancient ice is more than 1,000 feet thick and stretches about 13 miles, forming a massive frozen landscape that dominates the valley. Since 1929, its edge has pulled back nearly 2 miles, showing how dramatically the landscape has changed over time. Places that were once steep ice walls for early explorers have now become open water after decades of melting. As the glacier grinds rock into fine mineral powder, that dust floats in the water and turns the entire scene into a glowing turquoise landscape.